This is Nathan at the MAG office. For those online, we are working to get quorum, so hopefully we'll start here in a few minutes. Thank you.
Good morning, members of the MAG Economic. This meeting is now called to order. For those around the table, please turn on your microphone when speaking. For those participating via Zoom, please state your name when making a comment or asking a question. The MAG public comment process allows members of the public to comment on items on today's agenda or on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction. If you would like to comment at today's meeting, please fill out a request or speak card located on the counter and give it to a MAG staff. If you are parked in the garage, parking validations are available on the information desk in the hallway. If you purchased a transit ticket to come to the meeting, please see staff for a ticket. Hearing assisted devices are available also for MAG staff. To begin with, we will call roll. I want to recognize and express our sadness over the untimely passing of our fellow committee member, Darcy Renfro. Darcy passed away on September 4th. She was a Chancellor's Chief of Staff at the Maricopa Community College District and the Vice Chancellor of Community, Government Relations, and Economic Development at the time. Our thoughts are with her loved ones. Darcy touched so many lives, and we will miss her. We'll now conduct roll call.
Thank you, Chair. I will go through the list of members. Please make sure you're unmuted and indicate if you're present, that you're present when I call your name. Ruben Alonso.
Present.
Thank you. Steve Betts.
Present.
Thank you. Councilmember Chuck Bongiovanni.
Present.
Thank you. Tony Bradley. Paul Carden. Councilmember Tom Durham. Councilmember Edwards. Supervisor Galvin, James Griffiths, Councilmember Guy, Councilmember Hampton, Mayor Hermosillo, Sintra Hoffman. Thank you. Vice Mayor Judd.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Keating.
Present.
Thank you. Jim Kenny. Mayor LaVault. Governor Lewis. Councilmember Malnar.
Present.
Thank you. Mike Markham.
Present.
Thank you. Councilmember McMinn. Here. Thank you. Vice Mayor Moore.
Present.
Thank you. Councilmember Bryan.
Present.
Thank you. Councilmember Oliphant.
Present.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Pineda. Councilmember Poston. Mark Sanders.
Present.
Thank you. Todd Sanders. Mayor Smith.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Summers.
Present.
Thank you. Scarlet Spring. Marisa Walker. Bob Worlsley.
Here.
Thank you. Anyone whom I missed? Chair, we have quorum.
Thank you very much. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our next item is a call to the audience. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda or that are on the agenda for discussion and not for action. 15 minutes will be provided for the call to the audience unless the chair requests an exception to this limit. Have we received any requests?
Thank you, Chair. We have received no comment cards, but we have received one public comment for your consideration via the website. We have shared them with the committee members electronically and with the paper printout for those who are here in person. No
Okay.
other comments were received.
Okay, did we need to read that comment or no?
No,
Okay.
Chair, we don't need to.
Okay, very well. So everyone has that comment here at your table. If you take a look at that. MAG also provides the opportunity for members of the public to submit written comments, and that's what we just did. So
Yes.
on our next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Does any member of the committee have questions regarding the minutes? Prior to the approval of the minutes, do we have any members of the public who wish to comment?
Chair, we have received no comments.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of June 6th? Okay, we have a
Second.
motion by Vice Mayor Judd
Second.
and second by Peggy from Fountain Hills. Those in the room and those online will vote at the same time. Please turn on your mics and cameras and keep them on until staff has confirmed whether the motion passes. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Please say aye.
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 Okay, it appears that we have a unanimous vote.
Actually, Chair, I will call the members online who have not turned on their cameras.
Okay,
Councilmember Bongiovanni, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Keating, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Summers, how do you vote?
Aye. I vote aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Oliphant, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Chair, the motion passes.
very well. Thank you. We'll now go on to item 5. Agenda item number 5 is an update about the 10th annual Arason council meeting that took place at the end of August during the league's annual conference in Tucson. It was an excellent event with great attendance from Sonoran officials. Nathan Pryor will update us on the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Economic Development Committee. As you just pointed out, it was an excellent event. The Arizona Council did meet on August 31st in Tucson in conjunction with the annual league conference. And as the chairman stated, this was the 10th annual meeting of Arizona, so quite special in that event. As usual, it was very well attended. We had over 110 people from both Arizona and Sonora present. We seem to get a great attendance every year, be it even during pandemic when it was online. But it's great to be back in person, and I think our participants really enjoy that in terms of relationship building. Just some of the exceptional speakers that we had. Of course, Mr. Chairman, you as MC, thank you very much for that. We appreciate that. Mayor Gallego provided opening remarks. We had Rafael Durazo, the Honorable Consul of Mexico in Tucson, providing remarks. Mayor Hermosillo of El Mirage was on a panel, longtime supporter of this committee and Arizona, so thank you. Mayor Donald Huish of Douglas, Lorena Rueda of Arizona Mexico Commission, David Figueroa, State of Sonora representative in Arizona, who was very helpful with the planning of this event. It does take a lot to plan this event and really relying on folks on both sides of the Arizona-Sonora border. So thank you, Mr. Figueroa. Just a couple other notables, Mayor Jorge Maldonado from Nogales, Arizona, as well as his counterpart from across the border, Mayor Juan Francisco Him in Nogales, Sonora, as well as Mayor Jesus Montano from the city of Agua Prieta. Some of the topics that were included focused on tourism and manufacturing roundtable. So great conversation there. We also heard a broader Mexico, Sonora, U.S. Arizona trade overview from Justin Dutram, the Assistant Vice President for Mexico and Latin America at the University of Arizona. And as well, we had a special announcement on Arizona Sonora Sister Cities Partnerships. That announcement came from Jorge Mendoza Yescas, the Honorable Consul General of Mexico in Phoenix, seeing 9 Arizona cities become a partner, part of that Sister Cities Partnership. A number of them also in the MAG region, 3 being Avondale, El Mirage, and Tolleson. Next slide, please. So we'd like to thank our sponsors, of course, for helping make this event a success: SRP, University of Arizona, Arizona Indian Gaming Association, Visit Tucson, and Phoenix Committee on Foreign Relations. We're already looking forward to planning next year's event in conjunction with the League of Cities and Towns. So again, thank you to the League for their continued support of this Arizona conversation as well. Mr. Chairman, that completes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Nathan. This is an item for information only. Do any members have any questions or comments? I'd like to just add one. I want to thank the efforts of this entire committee for a tremendous amount of effort that MAG has put in as well on this event, on this Arizona relationship. You know, in Glendale, I can speak to Glendale. We have seen a significant uptick in our visitors into the Glendale area, into Westgate, and our concert series. From June of 22 to 23, we had 29 million visitors. Many of those were from the Super Bowl, but we've seen a significant increase in our Hispanic visitors from the South. Over the past 4 months, Glendale's Desert Diamond Arena has hosted dozens of Latino concerts. And these concerts have sold out or nearly sold out. So we've really seen a significant increase in visitors coming from the South, and we appreciate that. And I think our relationship with Mexico has created this open border, let's help each other economically. And I believe it has really gained for the entire valley. We see people from Mexico love to come to Arizona to shop, to be entertained, and we've really seen a significant uptick. And I think Arizona played a significant role in making that happen. Anyone else? Thank you. Agenda item 6 is accomplishments of MAG EDC. Could you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Economic Development Committee. This agenda item is on for information, reviewing the Regional Council's action to sunset the MAG Economic Development Committee, also known as the EDC. Just for background, the EDC was created in 2010 with a 2-year sunset, and in 2012 it was extended indefinitely. And if you think back to 2010, what was going on, and Sepna's got some great slides for you to remind you. Some of you may get PTSD from some of these slides. I'm just going to give you trigger warnings on some of the bad economic news that she's going to show about. But as we know, one of the hardest things to do in government is to stop doing something, is to end something, because we all just have a natural inclination to just keep it going. But I think that as we've looked at this, as the Regional Council looked at it, and as we look at the presentation, you'll see the cycle of this committee has really come to a nice conclusion at this point, with what the conditions at the beginning, as will relate to the conditions today. You'll see that. I do think, though, that the work will continue, and we'll talk about that, which is that things have also changed in the region in terms of economic development organizations. I think GPEC is in a totally different place. The engagement with mayors that has happened at GPEC in the last 10 years, particularly on the leadership of Chris Camacho, has really changed that. The ACA has taken a strong role. Our East Valley and Westmark and the Phoenix East Valley Partnership have strengthened in that time. The chambers have taken more defined roles, and the cities particularly I have witnessed, really strengthened their economic development efforts. So the conditions then are not the conditions today, and the information that MAG provided then continues to be provided today and used by cities and others in ways that we would have wanted back then. And to be available. So, in 2010, the entire economy was built on building things and financing the building of those things. And when a crack happened in 2008, 2009, 2010, the whole thing came crashing down. In fact, it was the worst in Phoenix, Las Vegas, and Riverside County, California, in the entire nation. And again, the transformation since then has been really gratifying to see. The other thing that was going on at the time was that relationships with Mexico were very difficult, particularly with our Sonoran neighbors. And so the EDC took the role of maintaining good relationships, trying to nurture those relationships that could start with mayor to mayor, council member to council member across the border. And I think that's sort of an understated effect of EDC, was to maintain relationships during a time when the state was not doing that job very well. And so Arizona, which is now 10 years in, is a great example of that. And in fact, Arizona, I think, as the chairman stated, has kind of grown to a point where we looked at it and we said, does it really make sense for MAG to be the one sponsoring Arizona? Because it was mayors from all over Arizona. We did it in conjunction with the League of Arizona Cities and Towns. And so in talking with Tom Belshey at the League, I think a partnership with the League is going to make more sense. And we might get a bigger room if we do that differently. But that was a good problem to have. We had too many people for the room that we had. It was a great problem to have. But with that, we want to take some time and give you sort of the retrospective on the work that's gone on here, hoping that you can feel a sense of accomplishment when you see that. And as again, I will say, Sepna will start. There's some slides at the beginning that when I saw them, I thought, I forgot all about that. Really interesting. Be interested in your feedback on it. With that, I'll turn it over to Sepna, who's done a great job of staffing this group, and let her walk us through that. Sepna?
Thank you, Ed. And thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Economic Development Committee. It's a pleasure to be presenting on this. So as Ed mentioned, the conditions that necessitated the creation of the EDC have changed so much since 2010. As he mentioned also, and as we all know, the region, the state, the entire nation, we're in a state of crisis. And in our region particularly, residential home buying and selling, as well as retail sales had really cratered, with a cascading effects on our overall. So one thing I want to show you is that our relation with, as Ed mentioned, Mexico and Sonora were also at low, but this slide shows you an incredible effect. And it's actually scary to see so much red where we were in 2010. This is distressed properties. And now fast forward to 2023, we see the change. If we can go back one more time, I know that this might create PTSD, but if we now go back to 2023, this is 1/30th of where we were. We went from 63,000 distressed properties right now to now 2,166 properties. And so it's an incredible, incredible change. As Ed mentioned, a lot of factors and concerted action were needed in that time and happened from the public sector, the private sector, civic organizations, especially data analysis and understanding of what are the root causes, what happened. And one of the understanding was that our region was not as diversified as it could be, right? We needed more drivers of growth. And so a lot of this data and analysis was actually disseminated by MAG and by MAG EDC members. It was one of the key ways to get information in the hands of the elected official at the time. So I'm talking about two key factors. So we've talked about the real estate sector. The other sector is residential unit construction. So in this slide, you see how much lower the construction went from 2008 to 2011. And now you can see how much it has grown since. Since 2008, approximately 346,000 units have been built in the region, which is a pretty incredible accomplishment. Let's go to the next slide. So unemployment rate, we've talked about how it was an all-time high. And you can see in 2010, it was 10%. And you can see also and how it has steadily decreased over the decade. And now you have a quick blip here during the COVID pandemic. But what's incredible is that some of the foundational aspects of the economy had improved, and you can see how fast the economy recovered. And right now you can see that the interest rate, unemployment rate is 3.74, but that's because it's seasonal. Unlike other parts of the country during the summer, our unemployment rate goes slightly up, but fundamentally the fundamentals of our economy are very strong. Let's move now to employment from unemployment. This chart also tells the story of economic diversification, and it's a really compelling one. The region added over 800,000 jobs between 2010 and 2020. It's pretty impressive. We see tremendous growth in many sectors, and now you can see here the growth in healthcare has been tremendous. And if we click one more, we can see the growth rates. And so now healthcare is the largest employer in the region. And retail, of course, increased. You can see construction has come back, 87% growth. And if you look at transportation warehousing, which one of our mayors has indicated, that is a sector, but it's also an employment center, employing a lot of people. And that has seen tremendous growth. And a lot of that growth actually is due to the transportation corridors that have been planned by MAG over decades. And thanks to your input.
If I could on that too, I think it also illustrates the strategy that was sort of talked about in the late 2000s into the early 2010s was they called it meds and eds, medicine and healthcare and education. And if you think about the growth of ASU, Grand Canyon University, even the growth of NAU and U of A in the region, now getting to a second and maybe even a third medical school being talked about. And then the medical device manufacturing industry, which has also grown along with that. That strategy seemed to bear out pretty well, and this shows you that movement.
Yeah, and
I think you're right.
They're not all under.
Right.
yeah, that's a good point. Right now, there's tremendous amount of construction
Right.
happening all over the valley. And so in a couple of years, those numbers will be, the economy will be, it's already in a very solid footing, but it'll be even more diversified. And Ed mentioned the meds and eds, and we can see evidence of that construction in the north side of the valley, construction downtown Phoenix, and all of that brings additional other economic activity along with it. If we can go to the next slide. So this slide shows the major business locates, and this is from our partners, GPEC, since 2010. And This here, we see the sectors, which I just discussed earlier, but we also see the wide geographic distribution of employers throughout the entire valley. These employers have moved to the valley from other parts of the US, but also from around the world, as we all know, with TSMC, with LG, and all the suppliers, and of course, many other corporations. And you can also see how many of those employers have located along transportation corridors. It's actually very, very impressive.
Just to add in on this one too, as city manager in Phoenix, I attended both the East Valley managers and West Valley managers meetings that happened every month. And I'll tell you, in the mid 2015 or so, particularly the West Valley, the concern was we're not getting enough locates from GPEC. And we had a really good conversation between GPEC and the West Valley about what do you have to do to be ready to be a place to locate. Desire isn't enough. It's infrastructure, it's water, it's electricity, it's zoning, getting those things in place so you are ready to take advantage of it. And they really went to school on what had gone on in the East Valley 10 or 15 years earlier to do those exact things. If you think about the Price Corridor and the Williams Gateway, which is now just Gateway Airport, dating myself a little bit there. You know, that the East Valley had that strategy about 10 years earlier. The West Valley began that strategy in the early 2010s, as Centra knows. And now we're seeing the results of that effort. It's like the flywheel. It took it a while to get going, but now it is really cranking. But again, that was really deliberate efforts done at the city level in cooperation with GPEC and the Westmark and East Valley partnership teams and the Phoenix Chamber to make that happen. So I think this tells a great story of early preparation is now we're seeing the payoff from the preparation of the last 10 and even 20 years.
Yeah, and to add to what Ed is saying, I was attending a lot of policy committee meetings, including EDC meetings, as early as 2012. And exactly what Ed's saying is that the information that was disseminated in terms of what are the drivers of growth and what are the drivers of attracting investments, infrastructure, workforce, but how to plan for that were being discussed then. And you can see the results of those kind of discussions. It's been really successful. Next slide, please. So in 2010, we were already a key player in chip manufacturing, as we all know. But this was turbocharged by the largest foreign direct investment in the country, by TSMC's $40 billion investment. And of course, it's many suppliers. But what this slide shows, and this is a slide that Sandra Watson showed to the EDC earlier this year, but it's such a compelling slide that it's absolutely worth showing again, is that it's not just a chip manufacturing story. Global names in automated and electric vehicles, battery and energy storage, medical technology, data centers have chosen the Phoenix region for their investments. These wins have really catapulted our region's national stature in advanced manufacturing. And as we all know from what happened in 2010, it's really important to have multiple pillars of economic drivers and economic growth for our region. Next slide, please. So we've talked about construction, we've talked about employment, we've talked about employers locating here. If we just look at to economic terms of gross domestic product for the region has grown 70% since 2010. And actually for Pinal County, it has grown by 80%. So again, we're seeing tremendous growth here. Next slide, please. And so these photos show our international engagement. So you've heard from Nathan talking about Arizona and from Ed talking about international engagement. And so these photos show one of the earlier meetings of the Arizona Council. And we have MAG committee members in that photo who are still active today. And we have photos from the most recent, the 10th annual Arizona Council meeting, as well as photos from visiting delegations. So our work with Canadian partners will continue. Canada is the largest FDI investor here in the region. And so that work and that engagement continues both with different large cities in Canada, but also with the provinces and at the federal level, engaging both with policymakers and with companies. And next slide, please. So our region is really well positioned to build on the successes by continuing to engage with our key stakeholders, and especially Canada and Mexico, which has always been a focus of this committee. And also in continuing to partner with stakeholders such as the Arizona-Mexico Commission. And as Ed mentioned, our engagement with local partners also continues. So member agencies, of course, we have Westmark, we have East Valley Partnership, GPEC, also Valley Partnership. And then among our state partners, we have the ACA, we have the Arizona-Mexico Commission, and we also have organizations such as the Canada-Arizona Business Council. And then, of course, we have the Greater Phoenix Chamber of Commerce, Greater Phoenix Leadership, and more organizations. And of course, our great educational institutions such as ASU and the Community Colleges District. They have a huge role to play in continuing in keeping the economy robust. So next slide, please. So in conclusion, since 2010, coordination between economic development organizations, towns and cities, civic organizations has really become the norm. Economic indicators and data that were proprietary in 2010 are now available 24/7 on the MAG website from anywhere around the world and can be customized by city, by region, by state. It's actually really impressive, the kind of data that is available. And this data is helpful for our member agencies, but they're helpful for educational institutions. That this data is also used often. Well, of course, it's used on a practically daily basis by our partners at GPEC and ACA, but it's also used by the private sector. We have a lot of developers and builders who rely on the data that we have on our website. And MAG is justifiably proud of that. As Ed mentioned and Nathan mentioned, our relationship with Mexico and Sonora is stronger than ever. And really, we can be proud of the work of the EDC, thanks to elected officials and business and civic leaders such as you, who have served on the EDC and have spread word with your stakeholders about the importance of maintaining our relationship. As you have mentioned, Chair Malnar, how important our relationship is with Mexico, but also with Canada and our other international partners. One thing is, as Ed mentioned, MAG as an agency continues its work in tracking and sharing economic data, carefully considering economic opportunities while planning for transportation, infrastructure, human services, environmental issues, and other agency activities. There is a lot to celebrate, and the framework and the institutions to continue that work are firmly in place. MAG staff looks forward to elevating future economic development conversations as warranted to the MAG Regional Council Committee. Now I will turn it back to Ed to talk about one other big milestone that was achieved this summer.
Sure. Thank you, Sepna. I want to thank Sepna for her work on all this, and also all of you for the energy you put into EDC. I would say that I think there's three things that I think really have changed in this time period. One is, as I said at the beginning, the sophistication of economic development agencies in the area and the connection between the cities and those agencies, connections to Westmark, East Valley Partnership, Greater Phoenix Chamber. I give a lot of credit to board members like Steve, who've been there with GPEC all along to really reinforce the connection between the cities and GPEC. The second one, I think, is that the sleeping giant awakened. ASU has really come into its own as an economic force in the region, and we see that all across all regions of the valley. And then the third one we'll talk about is transportation. Of course, that's MAG is mainly a transportation agency, but I was really struck when I went down to Tucson for the League of Cities and Towns, because I don't go down to Tucson all that often. I'm also not from Arizona, so I'm not a ASU U of A rivalry or Phoenix Tucson rivalry person. So I felt a little bit objective to say I was really struck by the contrast between transportation in Tucson and transportation in Phoenix. Now, it's a choice that was made in Tucson, and it has some benefits that they appreciate about the development of their city and livability of it in their minds there. However, if you try to get around Tucson, it is really, really hard to do. And it's not just that it's inconvenient for a visitor, but if you think about travel and logistics are keys to businesses being successful, that you can get your employees to where they need to work, you can get the goods to where they need to go as quickly as you can with as little delay as possible, because time is money, and quality of life for employees is a big deal. And so the investment that was made in the Mag region starting almost 40 years ago into a network, first a freeway, then an arterials, and also a transit network, has made, I think, has really been a very fundamental to the success of the region. And so that's why we were so appreciative that you all helped push as hard as you did for Prop 400 extension. And we went through a lot of battles in the last 2 years. I was only here for the last 6 months of them. Other people lived it much longer than me. But the picture up there with Governor signing Prop 400 is just a symbol of Prop 400 extension of the value of that battle. And this committee illustrates the importance of it, that it is really fundamental to our economic success to have that. Some of the numbers we used were that 80% of the employment in the metropolitan region is situated within 2 miles of a freeway or light rail corridor. If you look at the property values grew in the region pretty significantly. They grew by over 200% near freeways. They grew by over 300% within a quarter mile of a light rail station. So the investment in transportation is important for transportation's sake, but it really ripples and pays even more dividends in the economic development area. And so we just wanted to recognize that as our final piece here. And I know Councilmember McMahon was going to give SEPNA a round of applause, and so I interrupted, but let's not interrupt that, and let's thank SEPNA and the whole MAG team for their work. Denise, Nathan, SEPNA have done great work working with you. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ed and Sapna, for your presentation and for all the great things that you've shown has happened over the past 13 years. Do any members have any questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
I would like to say thank you for all your support and the honor of being on this committee and also working with all of you and meeting you. And I would also, can we start talking about what, or want to wait on that? Okay.
Yeah, you want. All right, anyone else have any comments?
A couple of visuals I would love to show as I show my appreciation for the committee and the work. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
So I just have one
Yes.
comment. I just also wanted to thank all of you for letting me be a part of this I didn't realize 13 years. I was looking at my thing and going, wow, really? I've been on this? And then I saw my picture on there where I didn't have any hair. But no, I've enjoyed it, but thinking back on it, yeah, we were very impactful, and it was terrific in terms of the dissemination of information, but we took on some pretty important initiatives and did a lot of important things. And I think it's been a real effort, but I do think at some point you your time kind of runs out, and Ed, you summarized it perfectly that in 2010, the other groups were very, very different. And I think we were filling a void. We were bridging a void, really, is what we were doing. They were bridging a gap between a number of these organizations and creating a pivot, I think, for GPEC and ACA and a lot of the chambers and other groups. And it's just not as needed anymore. And so I applaud you for sort of stepping back. And I think having a fresh set of eyes come in and kind of take a look at that with your leadership, I think gave us an opportunity to say, is it really needed anymore? So, but thank you for letting me serve. I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you very much for your comments. The next item on the agenda is a recognition of service members of the Economic Development Committee. Each of you has received a certificate. If you see here on the table, there's a certificate recognizing your service on the EDC. And we also bringing out pies as symbol of how the region's resilience and economic growth has given our community a bigger slice of the pie.
People asked, should we do cake? I said, let's grow the pie. Let's do something other than cake. So we did pie today.
Good idea.
So please join us after the meeting for a slice of the pie.
Very nice. Very nice.
Again, thank you each of one for serving on this committee. For me, it's been a great joy to be able to get to know you and to serve on this committee for the past several years. You just saw how much has happened, how much your work contributed to our region's economic growth and diversification. And these certificates are to recognize and express our gratitude for the service that each of you and those online and those that aren't here today. Thank you again for all that you've done for the Economic Development Committee. We're going now on to item 8, which is comments. We now have an opportunity to continue to celebrate all the work that we've done for the region and for your individual communities. This part of the meeting is an opportunity to recognize one milestone or achievement since 2010 in your jurisdiction or organization. We know there's a lot of milestones to be celebrated, so try to keep your comments to 1 minute. And I'll start out. In the city of Glendale, we have, due to all of the opportunity zones and everything that's happened that MAG has supported, we have 34 million square feet of construction since 2018 that are either completed or in progress. Over 10,000 employees will be filling these positions. And then I want to talk about one specific item, and it's a smaller project, but we have promoted as MAG, as Economic Development Committee, voiced our support for the creation of opportunity zones. And in Glendale, we use this designation to welcome Brooklyn Bedding to Glendale. Brooklyn Bedding is a locally owned operation that has grown exponentially over the past decade, and we are thrilled to have them here in Glendale. And I know each of you have great opportunities you want to share with us. And so I'd like to open this now up to tell us about some of the things that have happened in your communities or that you are aware of. And we'll just open that up to members of the community this time. Yeah, go ahead. Centra, we'll let you go first.
I've got a couple of.
If you could turn your mic, thank you.
I do. Here we are. It's been a little bit since I've been here in person, I guess. So first of all, thank you so much for not only the opportunity to serve on this committee, make the connections that we have, and learn different aspects of economic development as we have over the last several years. I joined this committee back when I was at ADOT and continued during my time at Westmark. So appreciate everything. And Ed, you said something earlier that took me back to grad school. That we have sunset clauses everywhere, but nobody ever follows them. And so we just go on in perpetuity. So I really think that this committee has brought us to, as a region, to a different place today than we were in the West Valley years ago, like you said earlier. And what we have done with this committee and MAG and the partnership is use data to tell our story. So the next slide shows the makeup of the West Valley, which is all of the communities west of I-17. I get this question all the time. So it's 13 different municipalities and 2 unincorporated communities. And that also includes the city of Phoenix. So 40% of Phoenix is in our boundaries at Westmark. The next slide. This, again, the data that MAG provided right when I first started at Westmark almost 8 years ago really helped us to tell our story. We were a community that said, why not us? Why isn't this coming here? Why? And really what we were able to do is show the numbers and the strength that we have and tell our story that way. And I think you'll all agree that we've seen a tremendous amount of growth in the West Valley. So they're not listening to us saying, hey, we got this great community. They're actually paying attention to those numbers. And those are the numbers that we have received from MAG, other partners, and it's evolved throughout the years, but it really started with that foundation of MAG information. The next slide. So one of the things that we really promote is our population. And when people see that number of 1.8 million residents in the West Valley, they're shocked that we're such a large region. And we by far compete with other metro areas such as Denver and Sacramento and some of the others that we're competing against in the marketplace. We also had a perception, as many of you might have remembered, as being a retirement community, and that is absolutely not the case. Our median age is 34.6 years old, which is younger than the national average and actually younger than the regional average median. So that's a positive thing. And that has actually changed. And I need to stop saying that because Greg Vogel told me, Sintra, you need to stop saying that because nobody thinks of the West Valley as a retirement community any longer. You've done the job. So again, the average household, median household income and so on, average household income, education attainment, the number of people or percentage of people that we have in the workforce today. 64% of our population in the West Valley is workforce age. So clearly we're seeing that people are paying attention to those numbers and we're reaping the benefits of it. So can't thank you enough. I think I've got one more slide, maybe. Another area too, where I think MAG and the Economic Development Committee played a key role in is in one of our regional assets that we're really proud of is Luke Air Force Base. As the base started expanding and growing, how do we as a community address those needs in economic development, workforce development, housing, transportation, all of those needs. And MAG and Amy St. Peter was just a tremendous resource and driver in getting the communities together. So thank you so much, Amy. And then I think I've got one last visual, which, you know, moving into the future, I think, again, we have been really set up for success. Over the last 10 years, we now have intersection reports that have information on each of those specific key intersections that the West Valley City's economic development directors have identified. So Westgate is a great example of one. Grand and Bell and Surprise, the Loop 101 and I-10 in the Avondale Tolleson area. So these are key areas that you're seeing a lot of economic development growth, and that's part of that success. MAG also has a tremendous interactive webpage, and the tools on the side show there's layers and layers and layers of information. You can spend an entire week in there and get every single thing you need to know. And it's really teed us up. We started 8 years ago working on workforce development when we had the need. We had the need in the West Valley to show that we actually have a very talented population. You need to move your business here. You need to locate here and you'll benefit from it. Today, post-pandemic, we're no different than anybody else. We're hurting for workforce. But because of the great work at MAG 8 years ago, we have a solid foundation and a workforce development plan that covers the entire region of the West Valley, public and private, and has been adopted by our board of directors. So thank you again for that investment early on and the continued partnership.
Thank you, Sintra. And again, we know you represented 13 cities, so you got a little more time today. Thank you.
Did I take 13 minutes?
All right. We have a couple of members online that would like to speak. Councilmember Somers from Mesa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me say what a difference the last 15 or so years have made in Mesa, and particularly in District 6, Southeast Mesa, which I represent. The area wasn't very well connected. Obviously, we were on the onset or right in the middle of the worst economic recession. We could not get anyone to look at Arizona or Mesa or turn any dirt here. So with the help of MAG and other partners, we invested. We invested in the State Route 24 for connectivity, as well as Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport, which this year has seen 1.9 million passengers fly in and out of 47 destinations. Skybridge is going vertical, is finally on track to establish a strong trade route between the United States and Mexico. And the airport is home to Virgin Galactic, Able Aerospace, Embraer, Gulfstream, Textron, and many more. The Elliott Road Technology Corridor has seen some big names move into the valley, including Google, Meta, and Apple. And this past fiscal year alone for 2023, we've seen attracted, retained, or assisted 53 companies in Mesa, 4,100 jobs, and over $1.5 billion in capital investment. I am looking forward to the future and seeing much, much more growth in all of the valley. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Summers. Also, we have Councilmember Oliphant from Queen Creek that'd like to speak.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you for the opportunity to serve on this committee. I feel like, I've only been on it less than 2 years, but have learned so much from my colleagues and just the opportunity to sit and hear things of a different perspective, obviously, from all of my colleagues all around. Queen Creek, we really appreciate the seat at the table for this. As many of you know, we are a growing community. But we are very excited about the $5.5 billion investment by LG Energy Solution that are here in our community to build a battery manufacturing complex. And in case you guys didn't know, but this complex marks the largest single investment for a standalone battery manufacturing facility in North America. So obviously our community is looking forward to the hundreds and thousands of jobs that this project is going to bring to our town. We want to thank MAG for your partnership in all of this. And we just look for some more growth out here in Queen Creek as LG is, kind of put us on the map, and other larger businesses are looking at our community over here way on the east side. So just want to say thanks again. And if any of you are in our neck of the woods, we would love to see you over here. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Oliphant. Other members wish to speak? Oh, okay. Oh, Mr. Keating.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tempe today is unrecognizable from what it was 14 years ago. 14 years ago, the tallest building in our city was a dorm by the name of Manzanita. So it's very clear how much economic development has meant to the city of Tempe. And I have no doubt that without the collaboration of this committee long before I joined 6 years ago, it would not have turned out the way that it did. So I would like to highlight how important this committee has been in fostering economic growth and collaboration in our region. Through this committee, we've strengthened ties and created relationships and have a platform for sharing ideas, best practices, and data-driven insights. By working together, we benefited not only Tempe, but every city that makes up this committee by pooling our resources and making decisions that have benefited our residents and businesses. We've tackled critical challenges like COVID-19. We've worked together to foster more infrastructure development and workforce readiness. And, this committee has done a lot for my city, as I know it has each of yours. It was a fast 6 years, but serving on this committee with you all has been an honor. And I look forward to seeing you all in the future, because I'm sure it's a small world and we'll definitely run into each other in time. Thank you.
Thanks, your Councilmember Keating. Other members here present. Mayor Smith.
Thank you so much. So as most of you are probably aware, because I talk about it all the time, the city of Maricopa is turning 20 years old this year. Actually, in a couple of weeks, we'll be celebrating our 20th anniversary, and it'll be a hoot of fun at the Wild West Music Fest. So come on out. But given that we're only 20 years old, we've done, I think, a phenomenal job with relationships, is what I've continued to hear here regarding the Economic Development Committee of MAG and the other committees associated with MAG as well. And relationships have helped us really move the dial on a very important transportation route for us, State Route 347, along with ADOT. And it's all about those relationships, and that transportation route and the improvement of it will increase our economic base. But so far, one thing that we're really proud of is with the increase of our economic base in the city of Maricopa, we are able to build new library, police station, dispatch center, new parks, and major transportation corridors without adding any debt to our city and our taxpayers. We consider it one of the strongest economic foundations that our city has ever had, and we've learned a lot from the MAG relationships that we have had as well. One project that we're really excited about, and you've probably heard about it, is the Apex Motor Club. This is a 4.2-mile track, world-class racing circuit, country club style amenities, and private garages, 50 of the future 500 CEOs have membership with this race club, and the national racing teams based in California are now coming to Apex. So we look forward to the ancillary economic development that's associated with that as well. And then newly announced is our University of Arizona Agricultural Center and 2,100 acres for research and innovation. So we're excited about that as well. But we owe a lot of it to, like I said, the relationships that we have with all of our MAG partners, with all of our ADOT partners. And it's just fun to see a brand new city grow into such a wonderful little community. But it's not really little anymore, 70,000, but we still think of it as a little community. But thank you very much for the opportunity of serving on this committee.
Thank you. I would like to recognize now Councilmember Peggy May.
Good afternoon, everybody. While Fountain Hills is small and we're out in the East Valley, we still attribute a lot of our economic growth to the help of this particular committee and MAG. And in fact, we are part of that 52% medical growth. We are proud to say that one of the hallmarks of our increase in economics is the fact that a group of doctors got together and they built the Fountain Hills Medical Center. It's a small hospital. It's 24-hour emergency service. It's having a big impact in our community in a positive way. They have hired about 50 to 60 nurses, doctors, and staff, mostly based out of Fountain Hills. They provide also walk-in primary care clinic. Unfortunately, I've been in the emergency room there. It's an experience. And it's a really nice place. And they are they're building a surgical center as well. And Fountain Hills looks at itself as a medical corridor because we're so close to Mayo out there. And Honor Health heard about this particular hospital. So they've also built an emergency medical center out there. So we are really proud to be part of the increase in the growth of the medical community. And we have, in that regard, we have brought our emergency department, fire department in-house instead of, contracting it out. So that's been a major accomplishment as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like to recognize Ruben Alonso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to thank on behalf of Arizona State University, everyone for our inclusion in this committee. We've, I believe, since for about 3/4 of the existence of this committee, we've been ranked #1 in innovation, in case you haven't heard. But honestly, all of those achievement and rankings and everything we can accomplish, it does not happen in a vacuum. It happens with our local government partners, and we'll continue to do so. And we appreciate working with all of you. One of the recent accomplishments that maybe gets a little less attention, but just last year in 2022, ASU broke into the top 10 in patents granted by any university in the country, which I think maybe doesn't get as much attention as the #1 innovation, but is a huge deal. That's a list that that Berkeley and MIT top every year, and ASU became the first institution here to we leapfrog Johns Hopkins and University of Michigan to get more patents in 2022. And that along with producing engineers, the most engineers we ever have, so that you can have the workforce to get the locates, is something we continue to do. So as we look forward into the creation of new medical school, as was mentioned, we know that we're going to keep doing that hand in hand with all of you. So thank you very much for continuing to work with us.
Thank you. Mr. Best, did you have your hand up? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to quickly thank this committee for allowing the town of Paradise Valley to be represented here. We certainly appreciate it. We're all in this together. It certainly is a partnership, all of the committees, all of the other members of the economic development community that has helped all of us, as we can hear, do better in these last few years. And the town of Paradise Valley certainly is no stranger to that as well. We have some of the most iconic resort developments and redevelopments going on in our town right now. The Ritz-Carlton being built now, and many of the other resort developments that have gone under redevelopment. So we just appreciate being here, and just thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sanders from ADOT.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I want to thank you all for allowing me out to be here on behalf of Director Toth. It's been an honor, and thank you for all the hard work that you guys have done here. just to echo on what Mr. Pyre was talking about, and Mr. Zerker International, we all know what ADOT is doing within the MAG region. But I just like to give a quick update of all your hard work at MAG and Addison and those relationships have done for international relations. I'm also the director of the Office of International Affairs for ADOT. So I work quite closely with Sonora. Right now, we are seeing a boom in our border communities. We have just been allotted $715 million through IIJA for ports of entry modernization, all going towards economic development, whether it be private. ADOT's in charge of inspecting all commercial vehicles that come across the border. So we have the pulse on the companies that come across and what they want to do. Now with the nearshoring and the ally shoring, we are seeing that the biggest crisis that Mexico's seeing on the border right now is warehousing. So now instead of stopping and dropping on the border, only on the border, they're looking north into Phoenix, Tucson. We had a company call us last month, an enormous company in Mexico. I can't tell you who it is right now, who wants to start coming to Phoenix, having distribution hubs and using our ports of entry, which will create a lot of jobs for the region and what we're looking for. So whether people want to realize it or not, when you talk about economic development, Arizona is an international state. We know we're tied. We have the I-19 corridor, we have the 10, the 17. We're the perfect combination for pass-through traffic. And to finish this conversation up, I'm proud to announce that Arizona has been chosen to be the first ever EV semi-truck pilot project in Nogales, Arizona, doing drayage runs with semi trucks back and forth in both Nogales, Arizona, and Nogales, Sonora. The second phase will be Phoenix, Nogales, and Nogales, Hermosillo, which is going to create a lot of sustainable corridors through the Maricopa region and drop-offs and pickups. So I want to thank Mag again for everything you've done for the international community and the local community. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other members wish to speak? Yes. Yes, go ahead. Ann O'Brien from Phoenix.
Thank you. Well, I have not served on this committee for very long. I do want to thank all that have been serving and have served, because the work that this committee has done made a significant impact, not just in the city of Phoenix, but across the entire region. And so I hope that the lessons learned here will be taken and continued, as well as the relationships and the collaboration. So again, thank you for all the hard work for those who have been here for the full 13 years, Mr. Betts, and those of you who have served on the committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Council Member. Anyone else wish to speak? All right. Well, thank you again. I just want to add my final comments. This has been an awesome committee. A lot of things have been accomplished, and I want to thank each of you again for your participation, your efforts, and staff as well. I know without staff, we council members, I know, rely on our staff a lot. And so I just want to thank everyone who's been involved. With that, yes, Mr.
Chair, if
Zerker.
we could do a couple things, then we'll release you to the pie table. First of all, we want to say thank you to you, Councilmember Malnar, for stepping in as chair in this time. It was a short reign, but you took it on well, and your leadership in the Arizona meeting in Tucson was much appreciated. So I want to recognize you with a plaque from MAG. But before I'm going to come around there and we're going to get a picture. But what we'd like to do is have you all, if you could come to the center, we're going to put a few chairs in. So we'll have a group sit in front and then stand in the back. It's a better picture there in the middle than trying to crowd around there behind the table. Juan and Kelly will get that set up, and then we'll take a picture. And
right.
Just come around. We'll do
Okay,
your plaque
great.
out here as well, council member. Thank you.
You took everything away that I was going to say, so I just gave you my minute.
Stand behind and all of you. Get a picture. We'll do the meeting first, and we'll get the staff in.
Oh, we need one more on the seat.
Let's get one more seat there. If we could get our max staff to get a picture of that.
Doing from here, if that's okay. I want to thank again all of you for your service to this committee. You can be very proud of where our region stands nationally and globally. You and your teams helped to get us there. You deserve a round of applause. So let's give ourselves a round of applause. The MAG EDC is now officially sunset. Please join me for a piece of pie.